So why this school? Why this specific school? This is the most important question of your interview, is why this school? It's almost, the walk me through your resume question is almost as important as this one, because you have to really show yourself here. Now though, in this sense, why this school is a question. The underlying question is, how well do you know this school? How well do you know this program? And it's extremely important here, because you really have to show that you know the school inside and out. Now, I talk about being prepared and doing your research in another video, and I'm hoping that by this time, when we're here talking about this question, you've already done your research. Now, what I want to show you is this. How do I answer this question? I teach a 4C structure. Okay, it's just 4 C's. It's very simple. First C is culture. Second C, classes. Third C, clubs. And the fourth C, contributions. We'll go through each one in this video. The first C is, when you're talking about the culture, is exactly that. You want to show, and you immediately want to start off by showing how you fit with the school's culture, how the students there will love your presence, but also how you fit with not only the people at the school, but also with the school and its beliefs and its core values. Okay, do you know the core values of your school? I hope you do. Remember, you need to know the program inside and out. Specifics. Okay, key thing here in this answer is being very specific. Now, okay, how do I find culture? That's actually also in the video for doing your research. Remember when I asked you what are the 2 key traits of the students who you've spoken with that differentiate them from students from any other school? Let me ask you that question again. What are the 2 key traits that differentiate the students that you've spoken with, or the alumni that you've spoken with of that school, that differentiate them from any other school? Do you know what those 2 key traits are? And how do you fit with those 2 key traits? Very, very important to know this here, because that's how you're going to start off with the answer. Not only that, as far as culture goes, how would you fit in that kind of scenario? Is it a very collaborative school? You want to be able to show how you are collaborative. Now, just don't just use the word collaborative. I talked about this extensively. Be very specific on what style. What's your collaborative style? What's your teamwork style? What's your leadership style? Why would you get along with the people there? Why do you admire the school? Now, one of the great things here to also mention is, if you had a recommender that is your supervisor, it's your direct line. It's your direct line above you, who is also an alumni of the school that you're applying to. That is awesome. Okay, that's definitely something you want as part of your argument, because you've worked directly under the person, so you've had first-hand experience on how that person makes decisions, how that person handles difficult situations, stressful situations, conflicts, which we'll talk about in another video, but also how that person treats others, how that person makes you feel when you're working. And why do you believe that that school was responsible for this supervisor's attitude? And that supervisor recommending you to that school, it just adds to your argument. Even better is if you not only had a supervisor, but if 3 or 4 of your friends are from that school, 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. If you have people around you that have been to that school, have graduated from that MBA program, or even an undergraduate program there, that means that you walk with them. Have you ever heard of that term? You probably have heard of that term, show me who your friends are, I'll show you who you are, right? There have been extensive research and even studies that say that you are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with the most. Now, if you hang out with 4 Harvard alumni, right, your best friends are all Harvard alumni, then obviously, you tend to incline towards the Harvard mindset. Okay, not a Tuck mindset. All right, yes, I do know that there are proficiency scores that, play a role here, but with that aside, that's sorry to be blunt, but that's actually on you. That's your responsibility to get the scores that you need in order to be eligible to apply to a specific school. That's not what I'm here for to talk about. I'm here under the assumption that you are applying to the dream schools that you want, that you've done your work, you've studied your butt off, and you've been able to apply to the schools that you want, and you're hoping for an interview call, or that you've already received your interview invitation. Either way. So that's the whole point here. You remember, we like the people who are like us, or people who we like to become. And if you show that the person that you'd like to become by going to that specific school was mainly driven by the fact that you've worked under the people that you admire, that you respect, and that you'd like to become like them, that just adds to your argument here for answering the first C of why this school, answering the C of culture. This is why I fit in. All my friends go to this school, or my best friends have gone to the school. The people that I've worked with have gone to this school. I admire them. I respect them. I know I get along with them. This is it's not about you fitting in. It's not about you fitting into the culture. This is about you being already a part of this. I've grown up with this. My professional standards are at your school's level. I just want to work hard to be to respect that level, to represent that same level, and to go beyond. I want to take it further. So that's the first C. What we're talking about is the culture. Now, when we talk about the second C, which is classes, I would say hit 2 classes maximum here. 1 or 2 classes. More than 2, not necessary. It's overkill. But 2 classes that you're really looking forward to. And speaking of the 2 classes, you really want these classes to be intricately tied into your past experience with your future goals. Whether it's a gap that you need to fill, whether it's already a strength that that you want to further strengthen, how is this class going to help you not only solidify your past experience, but how is that going to launch you into the highest probability of success in the future? You have to be specific. I get students sometimes that ask me, should I mention the professor's name? Well, is that awesome? Okay. Yes and no. All right. It's very subjective here. I would say in this case, no, if you don't have a personal tie or a professional, very strong professional or personal reason to state that name. If you're just stating names because you're throwing it out there, no. If you're going to do that, then I would suggest definitely name a specific alumni. Okay, I've spoken to many alumni. I've actually been to different ex schools meetings or meetups, and I've spoken to people. I've done my research. I actually a student named John Doe actually told me about this class, and the way he explained it to me, the way the impact that it has had on his life has really convinced me that this is exactly what I need. That's much stronger than throwing out a professor's name. Okay, if you talk about a fellow student who has had success with that class, then that's much stronger than just throwing out a name. When do you throw out a professor's name? I'll give you an example. I had a student of mine whose company that he's currently working with, a company that he helped build. The owner, the CEO, actually, the acting CEO of his company is actually a Columbia alumnus, and he when he mentioned the professor's name to me, I immediately told him, I'm like, are you throwing this professor's name out there, or is there a specific reason why you want to have class with this professor? And he said that this professor, who is also a Columbia alumnus, back in his school days at Columbia, he wrote a paper on basically what his current company's fundamental values are based upon. This professor, when he was attending Columbia many years ago, he wrote a paper on which the current company of this student who was applying to Columbia was fundamentals, the values of the company and the theories and everything. They based it upon this professor's work, where his direct CEO was also an alumnus of Columbia. He was applying to Columbia, and then we were practicing for the interview for Columbia. That's awesome. That's the link that you want. That makes sense. For me, for anybody, that's just such a convincing argument there. I mean, why not learn directly from the professor who had a very, who had an obvious fundamental role in his company's creation and also in his company's future success. And wanting to be able to go to Columbia to sit with this professor to talk further into his paper and dig deeper, and also to be able to have the access to the CEOs and the executives of his industry because it's in New York, because of its location. That was just one of the most, amazing answers I've ever had in my career as an interview coach. Okay, there is no stronger link to this answer than that, if you're going to throw in a professor's name. Another professor's name was thrown in once in another interview with a girl who wanted to go into Chicago Booth, and this professor actually wrote a book called Nudge. You can research it. I do believe that it's in the beginning video. I talk about this professor. That's the link that you want to make. Her whole career was based on marketing, and she wanted to dig deeper into the sense she had read this book that was life-changing for her professionally, and obviously she definitely wants to meet with the author, or actually it was a co-author of this book, and sit with him and pick his brain. That's amazing. That's exactly when you should use a professor's name. Not just throw it out there because you saw it online and you're like, oh, this class is interesting. Who's the professor? Great. Let's get the class description and say why this class is going to be great for me. No, that's just doing a little bit of Lego there. You're just finding the right pieces to put it together. And that's not the case here. You want to make a link here. You need to make a personal and professional link to why that class, why that professor, how is that going to cover something that happened in the past, while meanwhile helping you launch into the future with higher probability for success. Okay, so 2 classes, tops. The third C, clubs. Now when you're talking about the clubs, why do I need to talk about clubs? Because, dear student, you are not going to be a John Nash style student who's going to go to class, lock himself into his own room and not really socialize. One of the greatest things for an MBA is not only the exchange of ideas, but also the interaction between cultures, and obviously the strength of networking, of making new friends. And you can't make new friends while you're hidden away in your room. Great, yeah, okay, if you are the next John Nash who's going to change the entire industry, the global industry, that's awesome, but you don't know that now. You don't know that until you're actually at school. And if you haven't done anything like that already back in undergrad, this is not the time really, to bury yourself in a hole. Because the MBA is not about helping you discover yourself. The MBA is about strengthening who you already are. Remember, MBAs love students who are self-aware, who already know, who've already done some soul searching. Actually, the entire MBA application process is a soul searching process. Haven't you spent hours and hours on end to write your 250-word essay or your 500-word essay? How do you summarize your entire professional career or your accomplishments or your achievements in only 300 words? Come on, this entire process was a self-reflection, an exercise in self-reflection. You should know yourself very well by now. If you haven't, then your essays are probably not as deep as they could or should be. In saying that, in that case, then you're not going to the school for self-discovery. You're going to the school to do an MBA program, to expand, to amplify what you already have, to create an extension of yourself, extension of your identity with your fellow classmates, with the international culture that you will encounter there, and with the interactions that you will have with top professionals from all over the world. They don't want you spending the night at home curled up in a ball and getting your rest on for the next day. No, they want you 3 a.m. in the morning in the library with 4 or 5 other students, talking about how you guys are going to change the world. Even if you're just talking about, best strategies for beer pong, whatever. But they want you to interact. You need to be around there. That's why you need to have 2 clubs. Have 2 clubs ready to go. Okay, one that can kind of cover your academic or your soft skills. 2 for a good time. What are your hobbies, your interests? Here's a great moment to talk about, to show a little bit about what you do outside of work. Okay, MBAs don't want robots, who just work. They want people who do community work, who contribute to the community. They want people who are active, who are out there, who are interested in the world, who are interested in what's going on around them. So if you include a club that you have a hobby, that means you have a life outside of work. And that's great. That's something that the interviewer wants to know. Again, remember, the interview is there for specifically for that sole purpose, is to get to know you better. Are you a likable person? Are you somebody that the interviewer would like to have at his dinner table for an alumni reunion? That's the whole point. Can the interviewer imagine himself opening up a business with you as a partner? In order to show that, you also want to show your interests, your hobbies. Maybe maybe you want to be part of the wine club. Great. Who doesn't like wine? Who doesn't want to taste a bunch of wine? But it's not just that. See, the clubs go beyond that. They not only do they enjoy themselves, but they all of them have social initiatives that they do for the students, on behalf of the students on your campus. Now, okay, how do I find this out? It's not online. It's not on the internet. That's something I hear a lot from students. Man, I don't know what clubs there are. Call them. Okay, here's something that you can do. Get in touch with your local alumni. If you have somebody close to you who's an alumni, ask them if they are active in the alumni network of your country. If you don't, try to discover where your alumni network is, either in your city or near your city. Almost all alumni networks across the globe have periodical meetups, and they all get together and they talk about their MBA experiences, and they network. You need to go find them. Find them, go meet up with them, talk to them, ask them about the clubs. If you discover the club, some club, you'll find out, oh, this guy used to be the president of this club that you're interested in, like yachting club. Get his number, get his contact, talk to him, ask him questions. What kind of questions? Okay, what kind of things do you guys do? What are some of the activities that you guys have done? What are some of the social initiatives that you guys put in place? How can I be an active member? How can I contribute? How can I become part of leadership? What needs to happen? As much information as you can get. In the same way that classes need to link to your personal and your professional lives, your clubs need to link to also your personal desire to be an active part of the community. And that transitions extremely well into the 4th C, which is contributions. Most schools will ask you this question separately. How will you contribute to the MBA, or how will you contribute to the campus, or how will you contribute to the student body? What will your contributions be? What will you bring to the table? What will the students love about you? All the same question. What I noticed though is that by answering that question in isolation is not as strong as when you're transitioning from the clubs. When you transition from the clubs and talking about how you want to take on a leadership position, and because you want to you want to be a positive contribution to the campus, I want to be an active member there. And I believe that what I can bring here is not only my extensive experience in X industry, but also I believe that my desire to always be trying to get people together, to meet new people, is going to be essential here for the learning environment that is the MBA program. Okay. I believe that we will learn much more outside of class. I mean, we will learn a lot in class, but we will learn so much more outside of class when we're interacting with each other, when we're exchanging our ideas, our thoughts, when we're debating and discussing with each other. And I believe that I can contribute mainly not only through my experience, but also with my with my teamwork spirit. I'm somebody who's a mediator, and I enjoy not only stimulating great conversations and discussions, but also to make sure that when there is a conflict, we're all there for the same sole purpose, which is to have a significant impact, have a relevant impact on the world or on society or in my community or in my company. That's kind of how you want to answer this contributions section. Talk about a personal strength, talk about a professional strength, talk about how that's going to really, really help your students, help your fellow students enjoy themselves, enjoy the MBA experience. Okay, so, all in all, okay, Matt, how am I supposed to do this? It sounds like it's going to be very long, and it does get long. Okay, my suggestion is the following. Have 2 or 3 bullet points for each C. Tops. Quick bullet points. That could translation into maybe 1 or 1.5 sentences per bullet point. That means you're going to have basically a 3-paragraph, if you were to write out a script, it would be a 3-paragraph script. I don't want you to script your answer. Do not script your answer here. But if you have a 3-paragraph answer, basically it usually takes about 4 or 5 minutes to answer, which is great as far as time management goes for your MBA interview. Your MBA interview only lasts 45 minutes, okay, usually. Some interviews go way longer than that, but that's mainly because the interviewer had it in his or her mind to clear their schedule after the interview, because they really essentially want to get to know you. Most interviewers want to get to know you, genuinely want to get to know who you are, so that they have a better way to assess if you have the right fit for the school and if you should be highly recommended or not. So take your time here in the sense of making sure that you are on point. You need to be direct and clear, be objective, do not beat around the bush, and be very specific. If I'm going too fast, that's the beauty of having a video course. You can always rewind and watch this again. That's what I can say for why this school. And this is the one thing that I tell students, you need to convince me when we do our practice sessions. If you don't convince me, I guarantee you will not convince the interviewer. Not because I'm, the highest reference at all. It's just personal experience, I've helped hundreds of students do very well in their interview process, and I'm very grateful for that opportunity. I'm very thankful to have played a small part in the success of your application, and that's awesome. That's so gratifying for me to know that my tips, my hints, my strategies have really, really helped each student to achieve their dream MBAs. And when this does help you, I really appreciate a nice short email or testimonial just saying, that's what I'm doing this for, and I love it. So anyway, on to the next video. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to definitely send them to me, and I will try to get to them as soon as humanly possible. Okay. If I had a clone who could do this for me, that would be awesome, but that's not the case. So yes, I do have a limited amount of time to answer, but I will try to get to your questions. In the meantime, let's go on to the next question, part of the core questions, which will be strengths and weaknesses. Ooh, I'm going to talk about that.